be kind, you know, love everyone, and, you know, a genuine heart. A lot of people love that. And never judge a book by its cover. Never judge a fucking book by its cover. That's a big one. And that's a big one for me.
Maniacs for life.
Maniacs for life.
Maniacs for life. What's up, Maniacs? Today we are here with this Maniac. How old are you, Maniac?
21, about to be 22 in a couple days.
21, about to be 22 in a couple days. So we're gonna get straight into it because as a beautiful flower, you start off as a seed and you need some dirt on you to grow into that beautiful flower. So what is some of the dirt that you went through?
Ooh, let's see. I think I want to start with, you know, when I was 16, I got married at a young age. It was arranged, obviously, you know, with culture and religion. And I think that was one of the biggest struggles is when I got married, I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure. I was young, clearly, you know. Not a lot of women get married at 16, especially in America, and including the fact that the man that I married was 31, turning 32. So I think that was the big downfall that started in my life. And you know, my father didn't know anything about him. My father didn't know that this man was abusive. He was just a really, really bad guy. And I think what really kind of messed me up is I still continued and I married this guy, and I didn't know any better. I was naive. I was young, and you know, my ex-husband, he had a problem with drugs, and clearly, me at a young age, you know, I wanted to try things and I wanted to experience, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, there came a time where I think it was maybe a week into our marriage. Actually, no, maybe it was actually the night of our marriage. I would notice this guy going into the restroom, you know, and I could hear some sort of noise, but I couldn't put my finger onto it. So, you know, kind of fast forwarding, my ex-husband one day comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, you want to try a little bit of cocaine?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," like, you know, even though I was like super scared, and I was like, "Yeah, we'll do it." And I remember I did that first time, and I think it was like a couple hours later where I had a really, really bad migraine, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I have a bad headache. I'm about to have anxiety, bad panic attack." And he was like, "I got you, don't worry. I got you, don't worry." I just remember he kept telling me that. And then I remember he got another, there was like a little bag with pills in it. And he was like, "Oh, this is better cocaine." And I told him, I was like, "Oh, you know, like, what do you mean this is better cocaine?" Again, I'm 16 and naive, and I don't know what anything is in the world. I don't know what anything is. For a minute, I was just like, "Okay, let's do it." So he pulls out a line, and it was, I remember it was like a blue pill. The one side of it had a 30 on it, and then the other side had an M on it. And he had crushed it, whatever, and he put it out in my face, and he told me, "This is gonna make you feel better." And I kept asking myself, I was like, "What does he mean by that? What does he mean by that?" And so I was like, "Okay, you know, fuck it." And I did that line, and not too long after that, I had my first OD. So I think it was in my first week of marriage. I just discovered so much, and you know, I remember whenever the ambulance came, I remember waking up and the ambulance came and there was police everywhere. And they had gave me Narcan, and I was just lost at that point, you know. I don't know what happened. I didn't even know what an overdose was. So it was definitely, it was something new to me for sure. And I remember the paramedic asking my husband at the time, hey, you know, do you know what she took? Do you know where the drugs are? And I just remember my husband at the time looking at the paramedic and like pointing to my pockets. And he goes, oh, well, I think she took fentanyl and I think the drugs are in her pocket. So not only did I overdose, not only did all this happen to me, it was a really, really big betrayal moment for me. And, you know, that night, the cop, there was cops there, because I guess, you know, I was underage or whatever, and, you know, he did not believe my husband whatsoever at that point. He was like, I don't believe that this is your wife. You know, you're going to have to show me some proof. You're going to have to show me some paperwork, something, because it's like that. I remember that police officer, like, he had my back. Like, he just knew something wasn't right, something wasn't adding up. And I just remember, like, as they were taking me out of the house in the little stretcher, you know, like, he looked at me and he told me, he was like, everything's going to be all right, and I just want you to know, like, you know, if anything ever happens to you, you know, it's just that one phone call. You know, don't be afraid, don't be scared. And he just assured me. So that was a really big comforting feeling. But, you know, again, I was married to this man, so I was living with this man, and what was really fucking me up in the head is my family trained me to, they trained my mind to think a woman can never get divorced, especially in our culture. You know, you're shamed, you're never going to get married again. Basically, you're never going to find love again if you get a divorce. So I kept holding it down. I went back to him that night, even after the overdose, and you know, it happened to me. And I think I discovered something about myself, that I had an addictive personality from that get-go, from that first night. Because every time I was feeling some type of way, or every time I was feeling any sort of, you know, sadness, and I just wanted comfort, I would turn to that blue pill. That's what I call it, that blue pill. And, you know, it's really fucked up, because, you know, my ex-husband, he knew what he was doing. And it was also a really scary moment in my life, because I knew I couldn't turn to my mom. I knew I couldn't turn to my father. I couldn't turn to my brothers either, because it's like, what the fuck are we going to, you know, it was so many things that really, really was racing in my mind. And then I ended up having a problem. I ended up facing an addiction. And it was me battling my demons. Getting out of it was really a tough one for me. And I also remember, you know, I would, clearly when you're not in your right state of mind and you're going through an addiction, you become this heartless person. You really become like black-hearted. Your soul is black. So I did come across, you know, a moment where when I wanted to leave him, I was like, it's time for me to just let go of everything. And you know, he would do things to me, and unfortunately it was like torture, because I didn't have, you know, that number to go call whenever I needed to feed my addiction. And I remember he would, when we would argue or we would come into disagreements, he'd leave me in the house for 3 days and take the keys with him, and take the pills with him. And then he'd come back maybe 3 days later, and, you know, it's like I had to treat him like some sort of god, for me to get my next fix, and some, yeah, that's what I would call it, my next fix, because he knew how sick I would get and how fucked up it really made me mentally. And then again, it came to a point in my life where I was like, you know what, Mima, like, you have to leave. You gotta let go. You gotta let go of everything. And in order for you to let go of him, or in order for you to let go of these drugs, you're gonna have to let go of him. So that was something that took me almost a year. So almost a year with him to realize. And I remember the very last time I was with him, I waited until he went to work. I threw away everything, all the pills, all the cocaine, everything. And he came home that night and he asked me, he's like, hey, where's the stuff? And I was like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And I had everything packed. I was just getting ready to say goodbye, for real this time. And I remember he pulled out a pocket knife, and he came at me. He came at me pretty badly, actually. And I think it was me more of like, damn, he's not really gonna do it. This guy's not gonna do this shit to me. There's no fucking way. And then, like, I remember he actually came at me with a pocket knife, and he cut me in my arm pretty badly. And then I have one on my neck. But I remember, like, when he did that, I got help. I remember I like just left everything. I got in my car. I drove all the way back to Keller. And, I told my family everything, which was one of the biggest, it was like one of the scariest moments too, because, like, fuck, I'm Arab, so how am I about to approach my family, my Arab family, and let them know, like, hey, 1, 2, 3 just happened to me, and I don't know what to do. So clearly, well, actually, going a little back, I ended up getting I didn't get stitches, but I got glue on my arm. They had to glue my cut back together. And they had told me, they were like, this one isn't going to go away. So I was just like, damn, like, I'm really about to be insecure about this scar for the rest of my life. But, I remember, and then after that, like, I'm kind of like fast forwarding. Like, I went back home. I told my family what happened. And, living in an Arab household, they don't believe in that, like, mental health. They don't believe in depression or anxiety or fuck, I didn't even think, they didn't even believe in addiction. Like, they're just, oh, you'll be fine. Just don't do it. Like, they had no idea. But, and then it came to that point where I started to, every emotion that I was feeling, every thought that I was feeling, whether it was good or bad, I just wanted to numb it. So clearly I did my own little searching or whatever, and I found a plug, and I think that went on for a good 6 months after I left him, where I just kept using, and I didn't want to stop. And I did a really good job hiding it from my family. But, until it wasn't a really good job. Until my mother finds me, on the couch one day, and she's like, I'm not breathing. I'm there, but I'm not there. And then, like, it's a very, very scary feeling, I will say, because, clearly my mother doesn't know what the fuck to do. My mom doesn't know what's going on with me. Am I sleeping, or am I alive, or what's happening? So remember I got rushed to the emergency room, and they Narcaned me maybe a good 7 times. And clearly with all this, again, I just didn't know. I had no idea. But again, I did know, so it's like, this is something I want to say. Like, I really want to say it. These drugs are not to be fucked around with. Anyway, going back to the story. They had taken me to the ER, and they Narcaned me a really good amount of times, and I wasn't waking up, but I had a pulse. So then they were like, we're going to transfer her over to Harris Methodist, because she's going to be in the ICU for a minute. So then, you know, that was a bit of a blur to me, because I don't remember what happened to me after that. But the next thing I do remember is waking up with a tube down my throat. And they had told me, you were one of the lucky ones. They said it's flat out like that. And, you know, I felt like everyone there that was helping me was being really fucked up to me and very rude to me or very passive aggressive. Little did I know, like, I'm sure they deal with situations like this a lot. But I ended up waking up about 3 days later. I had went into a coma. And, you know, I just, man, the look on my mom's face, like, you know, there's certain memories and moments that can never, it can never leave my mind. It'll come to my mind almost every day. And, that was really the breaking point. And then it was like, okay, you gotta go get help. Which I ended up doing. I went to a rehab facility very far away. It was in Florida. I went there. And it wasn't the nicest. It wasn't like a bougie one or anything. It was just, you know, something that I had to be far away from the world. Like, I disconnected when I went to rehab. You know, my phone, everything, social media, all that shit was forgotten about the minute I walked into that facility. And I didn't know how long I was going to stay. You know, I thought I was going to be there for maybe 30 days, pushing 45 days. But I ended up staying there for 180 days. And, you know, looking back at it, if I never got help, I would tell myself I would never fucking do that in a million years. But, you know, now that I think about it, and not just now, but the minute I got clean, I told myself this is the best decision that I ever fucking made for myself. Me being selfish, in my own, I don't know how to explain this, like, just making my own decisions and not worrying about anybody else's shit. That was actually the very first time I ever did that for myself. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm, about a year and a half pushing, so my sobriety date is May 9th of 2021. So that day also I'll never forget. But yeah, I mean, and then I don't know, like, I feel like I have ADHD, by the way, so don't I'm trying to, like, remember everything.
It's okay.
But I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you're still here today and that you get to do something like this and share your story, because your heart is so brave. The fact that you can do this, it's honestly amazing. So all of this happened before you were even 18 years old?
Pretty much, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like from here on out, right, whenever you turned 18 or whenever you got clean, how do you feel like it changed your life? How do you feel like it made you better, you know, stronger? How would you say that?
I think it made me better in a way where I used to be that very judgmental person, where if I were to see somebody that, you know, looked like they needed help, I would make a joke about it. Like, I was that type of bitch, really. So I think in some way, I don't want to say it humbled me either, because, you know, I feel like some people really need to fall for them to like, wake up. So, I mean, I want to say what I went through made me stronger as a person. I really had to fucking go through it. And, you know, I can say today, like, I feel like I've made so much progress. I ended up going back to school. I'm an LVN, so I'm a nurse now. And,
awesome.
You know,
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Like, you're helping out people. You're a nurse now. That's so crazy.
Thank you. And I feel like, the only reason why I chose this career was because it's like, damn, the feeling of fucking helping people is so fucking rewarding. Even you doing this must feel fucking rewarding. And like, I don't know, like I've came across situations even at work where I've seen it, but I will say I haven't really overcame, like a patient having an overdose. I think that's something that'll get to me, because it's like, fuck, I want to know if they're okay. Once they leave that hospital, I want to know if they're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
But you really can only do so much, especially in the healthcare field. But I chose this career because, again, that one nurse and that one doctor fucking saved my life. And I want to say they're the reason why I'm here today. They're the reason why. And, it's like, fuck, I want to do the same thing.
Well, what would you say to someone who might be going through that same situation of kind of a forced marriage at 16 years old, and, they probably are getting a drug problem for their husband currently right now? What would you say to them if they're watching this?
Walk the fuck out. Call somebody. If you don't have, I feel like, here's the thing though, I was scared and I couldn't do it, but I really, really I want people to know that if I went through it, anyone can go through it. And it's really not hard to just pick up the phone and call somebody. Even if you don't have, like, I don't want to say even if you don't have anyone, but it's like, there's so many places that will help you. There are so many. It's that one, that one look up on maps, or that one, you can ask anyone around you, hey, I need help. Can you help me? And, I didn't do that. I didn't speak up. And I wish I fucking learned from my lesson. So, it's like, hey, it's okay. And like, it's like, you're not the only one. You won't be the only one going through it. A lot of people go through it. And honestly, hey, like, hit up my guy.
Maniacs for life.
He'll give you my Instagram, and he'll give you my number. And I will sit there and I will listen to you and I will hear you out. And I told you that earlier.
Oh. So, from going through all those struggles and, all these hard times, the fact that you can smile today, it's so awesome. Like, the fact you're laughing right now. And, I mean, how crazy is that? Someone could be going through that hell right now and probably haven't smiled in a couple days. And the fact that you can share your story, you can tell them, like, hey, it's going to be okay, but you need to do your part and, like, get some help. You can't just stay there and continue in that life,
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure that was such a hard thing, especially with your whole family, kind of pressuring you to stay. And, mentally, it was like something you just had to break through, but you did it. That's awesome. Through all of that, what do you have planned next in your life? You said nursing was your career. What are your dreams?
My dream is to open up it's an all-woman. I want to have I don't want to say all-woman, but anyone's welcome. Hopefully, if this dream comes true, I want to have a facility where it's not just for substance abuse, but for any type of, domestic, emotional facility, where it's like you can come here and just be able to get that help that you need. So that is my big dream. That's my, that's a really big one I want to aim for. I know personally, I know a lot of females that are 16 right now currently that are going through a situation similar to mine. And so it's heartbreaking, and, I feel like it really needs to fucking stop. So, yeah, I mean, have my own facility and and be able to help almost everyone, as many people that can just come and get help.
Awesome. What is one message that you have out there? It doesn't even have to be about, violence, it could be something different. But do you have any message that you want to just share to someone that might just be going through something?
You know, I think I want to say, be kind, you know, love everyone, and, you know, a genuine heart. A lot of people, a lot of people love that, and never judge a book by its cover. Never judge a fucking book by its cover. That's a big one, and that's a big one for me.
Maniacs for life.
Maniacs for life.